Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach, and today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. We're going to be talking about advertising. Now, advertising has played a huge role in the way modern society has been formed, especially the habits that we have as consumers. Now, I know this because I used to be part of the industry way back when, before I started habit coaching. And this is something that is very passionate to me. And I was so excited by the opportunity to discuss it, especially now that we're all being bombarded by so much advertisement, not just on TV, but on our phones, in our homes, sitting on our toilet. Okay, so today with us, we have a very special guest and a podcaster at IVM Studios. We have Karthik Srinivasan. Karthik, welcome to the Habit Coach podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Karthik, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am a communications professional. I don't call myself an advertising professional. I look at it one level above communications professional. For the first decade of my career, I've been in PR and corporate communications. The next decade was in advertising, social media, digital marketing. I've been associated with brands like Ogilvy, Edelman, Flipkart in the last 22 plus years. The last 4 or 5 years I've been on my own. I'm done with this 9 to 5, going to office, coming to home rigmarole. I am
Brilliant.
happiest than ever being like this now.
Lovely. So now what is it that you're doing now that you are not part of any of the 9 to 5
The rat
job?
race. Yeah. So I actually consult on branding, positioning, public relations campaigns with brands. And most ironically, the kind of dream brands that I want to work with while I was in Ogilvy are all coming to me now because I don't have a team. And just me and my GST number, everybody is coming to me, all the who's who of brands. And I'm having great time working with all of them because all of them come with a very specific gap or a challenge or a need. I need to address them, just them using my experience, exposure, and creativity. That's one thing. Second thing I do is I do coaching and training sessions for senior leaders and organizations on their personal brand using social media, not
Oh, wow.
offline personal brand. That is how to talk to people, how to present, how to be a Toastmaster, not all that, just using social media, how to build perceptions and maintain perceptions using your own personality, not fake it, using your own real personality. That's what I do.
That's fantastic. I think we should definitely do an entire podcast on that second aspect for sure. Now, in advertising, Karthik, when you started to now, have you seen a difference?
Big difference because, as I said, the first decade I was in PR and Corpcom, which is a far cry from advertising. Because in PR and Corpcom, you need to earn your attention, while in advertising, you can pay your way to get attention because you interrupt people's attention. Ironically, now we don't get interrupted with ads at all because we have an option online to skip ads and we just skip ads left, right, and center. And now we watch ads by choice because somebody sends us an ad saying, hey, look at this great ad. Or it comes on WhatsApp, it comes on email, it comes on our timelines, then we watch it. Except for live programming on TV, like the India Pakistan match, we would have seen some ads saying, why are these ads so bad? But that's the only time we seem to be interrupted with ads. Most of the time, we choose to watch ads these days, which is a complete turnaround from the earlier days when we had no choice but to watch ads because we were watching something else of our interest. Ads interrupt our attention. Chalo, let's not get up from the seat because anyway the programming will start soon. We watched ads. That's a very big difference. Earlier, I mean, we used to wait for ads because there is no other option. We need to wait for the ads because we are waiting for the program. Now ads wait for us like TV program because on OTT, TV programs wait for us. We don't need to wait for the programs at all because earlier we used to sit at 9 o'clock prime time news aane wala hai, so we need to sit 9 o'clock in front of TV. We need to finish all our jobs and sit in front of them. Now we get news when we want to because there is a phone. It keeps coming to us all through the day. Like that, ads wait for us. We can watch them anytime we want. Go to YouTube, we can watch all the ads that you want. Basically, big difference.
It's a big difference, and penny is dropping right now when you're saying this because the what we say also will have changed from that time when you were interrupting somebody to now when you're attracting somebody to you, right?
Totally, because our whole orientation in terms of mood for watching an ad is now very different. We have a very short attention span right now because earlier we were very generous with our time with ads because it was just a minute kind of a break between a program that we are waiting to watch, we are really interested in, and we didn't want to just get up and break the flow of the programming. What was the actual content we sat in front of TV for? But now we have an extremely short attention span. If within the first 3 or 4 seconds a 30-second ad doesn't intrigue us or engage us or entertain us, we are willing to skip it. A 30-second ad, we are willing to skip it now because we have the power to do so. So all the more reason it needs to grab our attention from the word go, or it needs to be naturally oriented towards what we are actually interested in or engaged in, whatever it is. It has to really play that part now. It has to really earn its attention basically these days.
Yeah, it has to really work towards it, huh? And I think this is the power of the way the digital media is working, right? There's so many words being thrown around right now. This algorithm is showing me these kinds of ads. It is this that is showing me this. My personal data is going there. What are all your thoughts around this and the way that advertising is shaping this particular aspect of our life?
To some extent, the use of data will make advertising more effective, but the kind of signals being used from our data is not 100% right. So, for instance, if I'm watching a YouTube video, I could be repulsed by it or I could be thoroughly entertained by it. Unless I show it in a digitally recordable format to the platform, it can't know what my sentiment towards that ad is. I mean, for instance, if it's not an ad, if it's programming, whatever it is. For instance, if there is something gruesome happening on a YouTube video that I'm watching, I could be so amazingly outraged by it that I watch it for 2 to 3 minutes and then move on. Or I could be amazingly intrigued and entertained by it. I could watch it for 2 to 3 minutes and move on. What is going on in my head unless I show it to the digital platform through a digital mode, saying like, dislike, thumbs up, thumbs down, engaged or outraged, whatever emoticons I use, they have about half a dozen emoticons below, even on LinkedIn these days. Unless I show it to them, they won't never know. But they will take it as a signal saying, because I watched 2 minutes of this video and the whole video is only 3 minutes, I am interested in it. I could actually be so repulsed by it that I don't want to see it again. But that's what happens, the kind of algorithm they use. I mean, that's a big problem with a platform like YouTube. Because I've seen something outrageous, I've seen it for 1 minute out of complete horror. They think I like that thing and then keep on showing it to me again and again. That's where things go wrong. For instance, if you even watch Netflix, if you pause, they ask you specifically saying, please give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down so that we know that you're enjoying this program. You're not just sitting through the program. What is your feeling towards the program? Then we need to be explicit in that. Without that, they just can't know it. Also, most algorithms make assumptions based on our consumption habits, based on viewing patterns. But they are just assumptions. They can really not know unless we tell them what it is that we are feeling. And our feelings could be in multiple spectrums, not just like, dislike. There is so much more to like and dislike. So it's a bit of a hit and a miss, but they're trying, and I'm sure at some point they'll get better.
Yeah, because I think now the whole idea of tailor making ads for you is becoming the thing, right? It's like if you are into this kind of stuff, you will get this kind of advertisements sent to you. If you're into this kind of stuff, you'll have this kind of advertisements sent to you. Is that making advertising more effective than it used to be earlier? Is it just a new medium? Is just completely different? What are your thoughts on that?
On a more functional level, it's making it slightly more effective. For instance, most of the geo-targeted ads are slightly more useful. For instance, if I'm in Bangalore and there is a product that's available in Bangalore for a great price or a great value right now, if I am targeted, then I would actually be a more naturally functional target audience for the product because it's available in Bangalore. For instance, if there is a great book sale in Strand bookstore in Bangalore and I'm being targeted, I would obviously be a perfect target for it. But if they start making assumptions based on, say, income and capability and etc., based on what else I have watched and seen or what else I have bought in the past, that is still a bit of a hit and a miss because mere income is not a category that you can make an assumption because I can afford this, I will also like this because I can afford this. For instance, I drink filter coffee. But all the kind of ads that I get is for Sleepy Owl and all this exotic hand pressed, cold pressed. I have no idea what they mean actually. Those kind of coffee, which I'll never buy in my life at all. I buy Kota's coffee, which is in Bangalore, the best filter coffee in the world, basically. I'm not going to
Best.
move it, but yeah, pardon me.
Hmm. I said it's the best. I finally found
It's
it on Amazon. So now
totally.
it
Oh, it is
completely changed my life at
fantastic.
home.
I can't go out of it at all. But I am being shown all this high funda coffee, which is probably 10 times more expensive than Kota's coffee. Because I own an SUV, they make that assumption saying I will also like that at all. So those kind of assumptions, it may work for a much larger kind of a broader kind of assumption, but I don't think it really works that well.
Lovely. Karthik, when we think about habits, right, and the way that we try and change our consumers' behavior through advertising, What are some of the ways in which advertisers try to do this, are successful at doing this? Are these things that we should give in to the advertiser? So lots of questions for that as follow-ups. But firstly, how do advertisers do that?
Actually, they create habits. I mean, they influence habits. I mean, one of the things that I remember reading in the beginning when I got into advertising is something as basic as having a daily bath. And if you read even a Google search, they say that you don't necessarily need to have a bath every single day. I mean, obviously, because it now feels very outrageous saying, what is Karthik saying? You don't have a bath every day. You're in India. It's a very hot country. But I'm told that even doctors recommend you don't need to have a bath every single day. It's not that absolutely necessary. I mean, like you need to have some kind of routine for body cleanliness, but it need not be a bath. There can be other ways
Correct.
also. But soap brands have inculcated the habit in our life. Have a bath every day. If you're in a hotter place, have a bath twice a day and all that stuff. Similarly, with brushing, most of the brushing habit came because of advertising mainly, because all the paste brands and the brush brands actually advocated you need to brush first thing in the morning, you need to brush last thing in the night, and that's healthy routine for blah blah etc. and all that stuff. And they actually show when they use a pea-sized. I mean, if you see the packet of the paste, it clearly mentions use only a pea-sized paste on the brush, but the actual ad shows an entire brush level of paste being used on the day. We don't read the pack, we see the ad and we use the entire level so that we finish it fully and buy it again as soon as possible to the advantage of the paste maker, basically. So all these are habits and they have created habits and we are actually continuing with these habits these days.
And it's so interesting just how deep these habits go, the things that we've taken for granted for all these years. For example, my two of my favorite advertising based habits. The first one was the breakfast is the king. Like it is the most important meal of the day. There is absolutely zero truth to this in any research in any part of human
Correct,
history. But
correct.
all our cereal brands started propagating. Actually, oatmeal at that point of time that started propagating this. And now it's ingrained in our head like breakfast is
Yep,
the most important meal of the day. It was advertising.
yep,
And
absolutely.
that's how it settles in, right, into your
Yeah, yeah.
system.
In fact, I still remember when Maggie launched for the first time in the 80s in India. I mean, noodles, instant noodles was completely unheard in India at the time. We were eating all traditional foods like upma, pongal, idli types, and etc. They didn't advocate it as a breakfast item. They actually called it saying, school ke baad, when the kids come, they ask mommy saying, we want to eat something quickly and light, etc. And the mom makes. I mean, who makes instant noodles in the evening when kids come back from the school? But they actually inculcated that as a habit. And I remember asking my mom saying, please make me Maggie because it's coming on Doordarshan. Please make me Maggie.
And did she make you Maggie or did she say poda?
Of course, he made
Oh,
me.
she
I
made you
know, of
Maggie.
course, he made Maggie, and I'm still a big fan. Of course, I've actually moved on to multiple other instant noodle brands, but Maggie is still an original love, actually. In spite of how severely unhealthy it might be, still like the taste because we go by taste, unfortunately. We are humans.
Totally, completely. And for me, Maggie is my trekking guilty pleasure. So whenever we're on treks, it is my
Yeah,
go-to thing. Yeah. So the ways in which these habits come in are so, like, for example, whey protein, that
yeah.
whole have whey protein immediately after a workout. That was again an advertised habit. There was no truth to it. It was something that was made up.
One more. Most of the cola brands advocate when you are thirsty, drink cola. It's the worst thing ever to drink when you're thirsty. Actually, drink water. It feels like heaven. It feels like paradise. But people have completely forgotten to drink just normal or chilled water. They drink soda and sweetened carbonated soda. It's probably the worst thing that can probably quench your actual thirst. But it's a habit these days. What to do?
It's actually, that's how it is, right?
Yep.
We're going to take a quick break. See you on the other side. Welcome back. All right, let's jump into the conversation. How do we start learning these things and, like, how do we pick these up so that we're not necessarily influenced by it or that we don't move away from habits that we already have settled in to something else? I know this is going against all our grain of the work that we do, but I'm saying from a point of view of questioning, how should we even start thinking about these things?
So I actually tend to think them not as habits, at least even though that's the objective of that advertising and the brand basically. They want to cultivate habits so that we just follow them blindly. I think of them as occasional indulgence. For instance, when I write about, say, I mean, an ad campaign for an alcohol brand or ad campaign for a biscuit or some sweets like chocolates and etc. I get tons of comments on LinkedIn saying, Karthik, why are you advocating chocolates? They are full of sugar. Why are you advocating Maggie? It's full of salt and sodium and MSG, whatever, blah, 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 lead and all nonsense it is. I mean, I understand they have all those harmful stuff, but there is a basic concept that if you overdo anything, it is wrong for you. If you do anything in moderation, it's perfectly normal because you need to give your body time to assimilate whatever crap you have indulged in. And then I mean, your body has an own way of balancing things out. Just don't overdo things, including just, I mean, for instance, in the evening of a drink, when you're having a drink, don't overdo it so that you get tully. Drink in moderation so that you can walk out normally like a human being and not like a sloshed person, basically. That's what I always keep saying. Don't overdo anything. Do everything in moderation. Okay, you want to drink Coke? Fine. Have a bottle of Coke or a glass of Coke, but stop right there. Don't overdo it. Have actually water and try it out, and you would find a difference saying water quenches thirst much better than any Coke can ever dream of. But try both in moderation is the point.
Interesting. Okay. So don't necessarily be completely influenced. Try it in moderation. There's nothing like completely good, completely bad. So
yeah. So the point is
middle path.
Be cynical all the time.
Okay, that's a very good point. Be cynical about it in moderation. And look at the packaging for packaging size, right? That is the key word.
Absolutely, yes.
I remember reading somewhere, Karthika, that, television was created not for our entertainment, but to sell us things.
Yeah,
okay,
of course.
And I was like, shit, that is so true, right? Like, it was created from a point of view of how do we get these products into our homes. But now, social media is doing that for us, correct? When I go through my social media, every second post is someone trying to sell me something. Either it's an influencer, a friend, or an advertisement on it, right? What is happening to our mind with so much advertising bombardment?
To be fair, social media, I wouldn't even call it advertising. I mean, they call themselves influencers. I'm not an influencer. I don't think of as an influencer. And I say no to every single brand or agency mail or call that comes to me saying, what is your price per post? We want to promote this, blah, blah, etc. I instantly tell them I don't do paid content at all. No brand, nothing. I only work as consultant. I don't write about the work that I do as consultant. So basically, I'm trying to say is my words are not available for a fee. I write what comes to my mind and won't be influenced at all. If I like something, I will just write about it on my own without taking a fee also. And some brands have said, wow, you didn't take any fee at all. We had to pay 3 lakhs for that influencer to write about our brand. It just impressed me, so I wrote about it. But the point is, it's getting very gray. For instance, if one of my friends or neighbors writes on LinkedIn or Facebook and I come across a post that he really likes a particular brand of coffee or a restaurant and etc., unless they specify that this is a paid advertising, that there is a monetary relationship behind this writing, I have no clue of knowing whether their thoughts and opinions are influenced by the money or the actual experience. Another problem is if you go to Zomato and look at reviews, generally the problem is there are in two extremes. Either a restaurant sucks or a restaurant is outrageously fantastic and really, really good. There is no satisfaction anymore at all. Yes, I was satisfied with this restaurant, but who wants to write that? Because it's not interesting at all. We want two extremes and we are between those two extremes, unfortunately. The bigger problem is, for instance, if you look at, say, Shah Rukh Khan's timeline on, say, Twitter, one post he says, I actually went to, say, I mean, like my son's college and his graduation, blah, blah, had a great time. Next, then he talks about his new movie he's trying to promote. Next, he's talking about a new product he's trying to promote, and everything is in the same timeline. Earlier, there was a categorical difference. He is advertising on mainstream media in an advertisement on TV or in print, which everybody knew is up for sale. Brands pay, get the spot, and within that, he advertises. Now, his timeline where he's talking about his private family, intimate affairs, and whatever it is he's talking about, his opinions, thoughts about the country himself, and then an ad, and then another opinion, and then an ad. So it's very weird. For instance, if you and me are talking now, I say something about some brand, and you have no clue whether that brand actually spoke to me and said, hey, when you're actually doing that Habit Coach podcast, plug in our product and we'll pay you 2 lakhs. Do you know that it's not happened at all? You have no clue
I
of
was
knowing.
thinking
You have no
about
way
that
of
with
knowing.
Maggie when you said it.
But I told you, I don't do anything for a fee at all. No fee, no plug.
I know. I'm
But
joking.
the problem
I'm
is
joking.
that's where things get very, very gray and confusing. You have no clue who is being influenced to say what at what point because everything is converging in a timeline these days. and it intersperses with personal opinions, brand, etc. For instance, when I write something great about a brand that I'm really impressed with it, whatever it is, half a dozen people immediately ask me saying, "Hey, did the brand pay you to say this?" So I have to proactively add saying this is not a paid endorsement at all. I'm doing it on my own. And then I ask him saying, why would anybody endorse a brand positively without a fee? Come on, how can you even answer that now? It's very confusing these days.
It's so much part of the entire ecosystem now, right? Like matlab, obviously someone is paying you. How can they not be paying you for something like this?
Correct. And if I'm impressed, all the more reason. I mean, okay, you are impressed in your own life, it's fine. But why are you talking about it? Unless you're paid, why are you talking about it? What's your incentive to talk about it? I want more people to enjoy the same thing that I enjoyed. Yeah, that's not incentive enough. क्या करें अभी?
So it's too funny. Now, many influencers have stopped sharing the products that they enjoy, not
Okay.
that they paid for, because they get out of stock. So I
Oh.
remember this one time. I'm not a big influencer by any stretch
Hmm,
of the imagination, but I was talking about standing desks.
hmm,
And there was this standing desk that I used and I posted about it and I said that, it's available on Amazon, etc. Out of stock after that, everyone's complaining about it. So now the entire thing is ulta. All the stuff
uh,
that you like, you don't talk about, so you can get
uh.
it.
I understand.
Yeah, so you like to sell the other stuff. Okay. So it's very interesting. And exactly what you're saying. When I was on Instagram and scrolling the other day, I actually paused and said, wait, is this an advertisement? Why am I seeing this? And it looks exactly like somebody else's post.
Hmm,
The whole convergence of selling to you and your own, entertainment pleasure, all of that is mixing so beautifully right now.
yeah.
Do you know where this is heading? Like, if you had to close your eyes and see in the future 2 years from now, what would advertisement be looking like?
I mean, it all sounds very Black Mirror-ish if I were to
Hmm.
see it. I mean, I'm sure you must have seen the show online, Black Mirror,
Correct.
which
Very
actually
scary.
showcases near future technological updates. It sounds very Black Mirror-ish, but I think on a parallel line, more and more people are also getting cynical at the same time. So both are actually traveling at the same time. That it's getting more Black Mirror-ish. There is more plug and push in people's timeline, people's what the words they share online, but more and more people are also getting cynical and very skeptical of all. Because, I mean, for instance, if 10 people ask me saying, hey, did a brand pay you to say this? That's happening in parallel with more and more brands using normal individual peoples like you and me to promote their products, not just superstars, where people know that it's obviously paid for and promoted, but normal individual people. And they use our words as an endorsement in their advertising, and it's mixed in a timeline kind of format instead of an obviously print advertising or television advertising kind of format. So things are getting very, very gray. But as I said, both are happening at the same time. So I don't know where it'll collapse or hit each other. I have no idea, but both are probably healthy. Both should happen at the same time, I guess.
People getting cynical and leaving the platforms, and at the same time,
Not
so much
leaving.
advertising coming.
I mean, like not leaving the platform, just being cynical and then questioning everything that they see, which is how it should
Questioning it.
actually be. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, questioning I think is important as a habit for dealing in this kind of a world. I think, right?
But again, there is an issue there. For instance, I get a WhatsApp forward from my mother saying India's national anthem has won the award from UNESCO as the world's best national anthem. So I immediately call her saying, what crap are you sending me on WhatsApp? It's just a forward. If you just do a Google search for 10 seconds, you would know that. I mean, like a organization like UNESCO doesn't bother trying to listen to hazard national anthems and picking one as saying best. Nonsense. And here is a Google link. Here is where the fake news has been busted. But she clearly says, no, no, Karthik, I got it from your uncle, my brother, and I trust him to send the right stuff. And so I call my uncle saying, what nonsense are you sending to my mother? What nonsense? No, no, I got it from my bank colleague and I worked with him for 20 years, so I trust him. So this chain goes back. It's actually a big rabbit hole. We trust the last person and their credibility when they send something without even bothering saying it's merely a forward. One person somewhere sitting and laughing maniacally saying, I created this nonsense, and it's just going from chain to chain to chain. People trust not me, but the last person who sends it to you. The first person who actually falls for it is actually the culprit, not necessarily the person who created it. He created, of course, is the culprit. But the first person who fell for it without doing a fact check is the main culprit. And then it goes. But hopefully, we should be more cynical about each other and not just brands alone, which is not happening right now as much as brands getting, I mean, like people getting more cynical about brands and large organizations.
So true, right? Because in the WhatsApp world, your uncle is the influencer.
Yeah, that's true.
You got paid by UNESCO for this?
I hope UNESCO pays well. International company, so they'll be paying in dollars, I think.
Ooh, brilliant. Or bullion, it should be. But anyway, coming back, tell me about your podcast.
The podcast is called The Advertiser's Guide to the Galaxy. It's a hint at Douglas Adams. Hitchhiker's Galaxy is my all-time favorite book. It intends to go deeper behind some of the ads that we see. And to be fair, these days, most of the ads get ignored more than it's liked or disliked, and which is probably the worst thing that a marketer or a brand can wish for. Being ignored is a horror. At least being noticed for being liked or disliked is at least saying the brand saying somebody noticed my ad.
Some reaction happened.
Exactly. कुछ तो reaction हुआ, whether it's liking or dislike, कुछ तो हुआ. But being ignored and omitted is far, far worse. That's a total nightmare. But why is an ad being noticed? What is in it in terms of the narrative or the creative device that makes it noticeworthy? I can't obviously guess whether the ad is a success or not. Only the brand can say whether it's a success or not. And even one ad, you cannot judge the success. It's a campaign that you need to look at over a period of time. And it's not just the ad alone. The ad merely sets the context for something that's being available right now to an appropriate audience. And it needs to be available when I go to a store or online or offline. So there are so many things that need to work to say whether it's ads or a success or not. So I can't get into that. I'm not into predictions anymore at all. I just look at the creative and narrative interest and the layers and the devices that's used. What makes it interesting? What makes it not interesting? What makes it likable or dislikable? I go deeper into those aspects of it. The fact is, I want to review ads in a longer format and not just say I like or I just dislike something. I mean, if movies can have reviews, why can't ads have reviews? Is the point. Of course, you can obviously counter saying movies are scripted entertainment. Ads are supposed to sell us something, but just imagine ads are also scripted entertainment. You script an ad, but
Correct.
it's a gray line because half of it is scripted entertainment, the rest of the half it makes factual claims about product. So are you supposed to take, I mean, the factual claims about it seriously and ignore the scripted part of it? That's where the gray line comes in, which is where I thought I will review ads as deep as possible so that it helps people understand how these are made better.
That's such an interesting concept. I never thought about it in that fashion, saying that the scripted part is what we technically review, but we don't normally touch the facts and question the fact. Right.
Correct.
So this is
True.
also that
True.
element of questioning the facts as well in this.
Yep, of course, of course. I obviously question the facts also. In fact, not all the ads that I review in my show are positive. There are some which are
Hmm.
completely negative, but I don't use malice as a filter to talk about them. I use just more research and knowledge to talk about them. Saying so the point is I don't say I don't like an ad. I just say why this ad does not work for me, which is very different from liking, disliking. It does not work
Correct.
for me for so and so reasons, and what is wrong in them in terms of the communication, in terms of the narrative, in terms of the story that they're taking, what is wrong in front of them, and also help them with what should have been done instead of this, those details.
In fact, liking and disliking is the worst thing that you can do about an ad. So when we
Yeah,
used to do our ad testing at Ormax, we never asked, do you like this ad or do you dislike this ad? It was
yeah,
always three things that worked for you, three things that did not work for you.
yeah. That
Correct? I
would help
think
definitely.
that's the only way to start thinking about these. Likes and
Correct.
dislikes, matlab, you will like
क्या
it
फर्क पड़ता
and
है?
person
Exactly.
sitting next.
How does it matter? Yeah.
In fact, my dad used to do this. He was like, if you're going to bother about like or dislike, just ask your wife. Ask her opinion. Whatever she says, just do that.
That's what
Like,
matters in life. Nothing else matters in life. Seriously. I totally agree. Totally agree. That's a great advice.
so that was like, if you're not going to be bothering about elements and stuff like that, want like dislike, ask her.
Exactly.
Otherwise, come and do
Yeah,
this. So I think
exactly.
that is I think you're doing a fantastic job in telling people that you can critically acclaim or critically analyze advertisements as well instead
Why
of
not?
just saying skip karo, skip karo.
Absolutely, absolutely. Why not? In fact, many people have said that they would have actually skipped some ad that I spoke about, but for the fact that I opened three more perspectives to look at that ad. And now they say, oh,
Oh,
you could see that ad like this too. I didn't know that. Okay, let me see that ad four more times. They see it four more times, which you would have otherwise completely missed actually.
is this only you talking format? Do you have guests? What is the format of the podcast?
I honestly don't have patience for guests, so it's just me talking in format, and it's very short, basically about 7 to 15 minutes. That's the timeline that I'm looking at. Just one ad
Lovely.
with some kind of So, I mean, like some kind of prior references or global references just for the context setting. That's all.
And these are all current ads. These are past ads. Like what would?
Intend to be current ads, but not
Okay,
immediately current like last week types, maybe the last month or last 3, 4 months kind of type. But it will be recent, it's not old. If I pick an old ad, there will be a very solid reason for why I'm picking an old ad. Because it's so good, it needs to be told right now why is it good or what is it there to look at them right.
interesting. All right, lovely. And because the question that was coming to my mind was, how do you describe an ad on a podcast? Like a podcast is an audio element, ads
I
are
know, I know.
visual. So do you have links to the ad that you take people
Of
to?
course. I mean, this is the first question that I asked Amit when he said, let's do a podcast. And I said,
Hmm,
I show ads in my blog and talk about them, and people can play them, see them, watch them, observe them, and then read my commentary. It makes sense. Why does it make sense in an audio format? He said, but don't worry about that. People want to know the perspective, which is more important. They can see the ad whenever they want, whether they start seeing the ads and then listen to you, or they listen to you and then see the ad. It doesn't matter at all. So don't judge for them, just talk what you want to talk. Let them see whenever they want. Let them hear whenever they want, and let them connect the dots whenever they want. So it makes perfect sense. But all the links are in the description. That's the objective, actually.
lovely. So it's not that pause this, go watch this ad, come back, and then listen to me.
No, no, you
Listen
can
to
fully
me,
listen to
then
it,
watch the
and
ad.
then you can see the ad. You can probably replay what I spoke in your mind. It'll work that way.
Lovely. Fantastic. Anything else on habits and advertisements that you can think of before we end the podcast?
Not specifically on ads. I mean, most of it I think we have covered because
Have you
uh,
reviewed any of the ads currently that are habit creating that you can talk about?
yeah, actually, yes. The upcoming episode on Monday, that is coming Monday, I've spoken about a brand which makes dry fruits. And you don't see many ads for packaged dry fruit brands because you actually go to a store and buy dry fruits which are largely unbranded. But Happilo is that kind of a brand, and it had advertised very extensively during the IPL earlier this year, and that's what I'm speaking about. It was a bizarre ad. It's those kind of ad where you would have no idea what the hell is going on, and what comes in front of you on screen is what is the kind of reaction that you say. You won't remember Happy Low or dry fruits. You just remember a guy in a big bear suit shooting people with a toy gun which is filled with dry fruits. I mean, as I'm explaining to you, I can see that you're saying, what the hell is he talking about? But that's exactly what happens in the ad. I go behind why are they doing this as an idea? Because, I mean, which sane marketer, which who owns a dry fruits brand, would want a bear suit wearing guy with a toy gun shooting people with dry fruits and people trying to catch it with their mouths? It sounds totally bizarre, but they are actually trying to inculcate a habit of eating dry fruits instead of chocolates on certain
Ah,
occasions. They are trying to do that because chocolates are unhealthy and dry fruits are healthy, is the point they're trying to make. But they're taking a very bizarre creative device to communicate that point. It's possible. Why they're doing it is because chocolates have taken all the fun zone in advertising. Because any chocolate ad that you see, it's very fun, frothy, light, and you're really enjoying what you're seeing. But dry fruits, if you notice, all the brands that have advertised so far, for instance, brands like California Almonds or California Pistachios, or all those brands that you see the half page or quarter page ad in print that comes, everything is informational. They keep on saying, "ये बहुत healthy है, please eat it, you will get calcium, potassium, protein, blah, 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 etc." Why should there be such a big dichotomy between chocolates are fun and dry fruits are dry and boring, even though they're more healthy? Why can't this also get into the fun zone? It looks like Happilo went with a vengeance into the fun zone, and this is what they had. That's what I'm talking about. So that's a habit they're trying to create. Dry fruits can be fun too. So please enjoy and just indulge in it, is what they're trying to say, I guess.
very interesting. So we're definitely going to go listen to this episode. In fact, your episode, this particular one, will come out after your
On
almond or
Monday.
the
Yeah,
dry fruit
yeah.
podcast will come out. So
Correct.
please go and check out your podcast. Where can people find it? Wherever
It's
they listen to podcasts?
It's on IVM Podcast, on Spotify, on JioSaavn, Apple Music. It's on all the places. It's called
Advertisers Guide to the
Advertisers
Galaxy.
Guide to the Galaxy. Yes.
The Advertisers Guide to the Galaxy. Lovely. Karthik, thank you so much for joining us on the Habit Coach podcast. It was
Thank you
absolutely
so
brilliant
much for
having you
having
here.
me. Yes. Thank you so much.
Now, if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am at Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. We have a brand new habit coaching online course, quizzes, videos, and a lot more on the website awesome180.com. So check it out now.